Well, good evening, and welcome to Chapter 10. And what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks, we're running out of time in the school year, and what we're going to do is we're going to hit some of the high points of the next and final 3 chapters of the book. And each of these chapters really is the kind of stuff that you'll see in the first term of pre-algebra next year. So pay real close attention, because this is going to help us finish the year strong. It'll help us wrap up a lot of the stuff that we've been working on this year, and it will really help you build momentum going into next year. Now, starting with Chapter 10, we're going to do not necessarily every lesson, but we're going to do Chapter 10, which is dealing with integers. Now, integers is just a code word for positive and negative numbers. So we have the counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The integers include 0, and then also -1, -2, -3, and so on. So it's the counting numbers with a negative sign in front of them. And what it really means is the opposite of all the positive numbers. If you have 3 marbles in your pocket, that's the exact opposite of having -3 marbles in your pocket. So 3 marbles, you actually have 3 things in your pocket. -3 would mean something like you borrowed 3 marbles from somebody, you lost them. And so not only do you not have any marbles, but you need to go get some marbles to pay back your friend. We can all understand that idea of negative in terms of money. Okay, so if you do a job for somebody and they pay you $10, then you have plus 10. You have $10 in your pocket. But if you hire somebody else to do something for you, like maybe rake out your flower beds, then you're going to owe them money. You're going to have to pay them $10 when they're done. Okay, so it's going to take money away from your pocket or out of your bank account. Okay, so we see these ideas of positives and negatives all the time. And so we're going to kind of formalize a lot of that in the chapter on integers. And we're going to start out with a real simple introduction, which is using a number line. Okay, so let's get right into this. A number line, as you've seen before many, many times, is just a line with a bunch of little marks, and this one happens to go from -10 to 10, but we know lines from last chapter, we know lines go on infinitely without end in both directions, so we can always extend this, and we could keep counting in the positive direction to the right, and we could keep counting in the negative direction to the left. Okay, you'll notice that 0 is right in the middle. 0 is neither positive or negative. It has no sign. It's neutral. You can think of it like Switzerland of numbers. And then over here you have all the positive numbers, and over here on the left you have all the negative numbers. Okay, when we use a number line, it's pretty straightforward. If I have to put in a +3, you can find that on the number line right here. If you have that, again, with the marbles. If you have -3, you can find that on the left side of the number line, and there's -3. Okay. Now, if you have 2 lines where the only difference between them, the number part is the same, but one's positive, one's negative, these are called opposites, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Okay. So 2 numbers that have the same value, the same numeric part, but one's positive, one's negative, are called opposites. And if you think about it, go back to the example where you're paying somebody to rake out your flower beds. Okay? If you're the person paying, then you're paying $10. $10 is leaving your pocket and going to the other person. If you're the person doing the raking, you're getting $10. So $10 is coming into your pocket, and you have $10 more to spend this weekend. Okay? And those 2 ideas are opposites. And very often in real life, opposites like that go together. Okay? All right, let's talk about the absolute value. The absolute value, you've probably seen this symbol before. It looks like this. It's got vertical bars on either side of a number. Okay, and you'll see it with both positive and negative numbers in the middle. And what this means, think about the word value. Absolute value is talking about just the number part. We're not going to worry about the positive, negative. What we're going to really do, the technical definition of absolute value, is it's how far a number is from 0. So if I count over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, positive 4 is 4 to the right of 0. But negative 4 is -1, -2, -3, -4 is 4 units to the left of the 0. They're both the same distance away from 0, just one's on the left and one's on the right. So the absolute value is the distance from 0, and so both of these cases, the absolute value is 4. Another way people like to think of absolute value is if you happen to have the absolute value of a negative number, you just basically strip off the negative and leave it behind. Okay? It does not mean the opposite, and that's important. If you take the absolute value of a +4, you get 4. If you take the absolute value of -4, you get 4. It just strips the negative off. So if you already start with a positive number, absolute value doesn't really actually do anything. Okay? All right, so absolute value is how far on a number line we are from 0. That's the precise definition, or just think of it as the number part of a positive or negative number. So if you have an integer, the number part is its absolute value. Okay? Now we said we'd talk a little bit more about opposites, and there's not really that much more to say. The opposite of a number, the opposite of -4 is 4, but the opposite of 4 is -4. Okay, the example where the person was working on the flower gardens, the opposite of -10 is 10. The opposite of 10 is -10. So the opposite of paying 10 is getting 10. The opposite of getting 10 is paying 10. That's pretty much it. And I know that's just an introduction, and this is pretty straightforward and obvious stuff, but we're going to get started a little bit slowly because we're going to combine the next 2 lessons on adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. Okay, and we're going to build on what you already know about adding and subtracting regular numbers, and we're just going to include negatives into the mix. And that's when we're going to talk about the 3 commandments. You've seen them all year up on the board, so we're going to actually formally talk about what the 3 commandments do, how they work, and how that's going to help us add and subtract positive and negative numbers, how it's going to help us add and subtract integers. Okay, that's really all I have for you tonight, so I hope you enjoyed the video. There is no guest. Remember the key terms. Integers means the system of numbers that include positive and negatives. Opposites, the opposite of a positive number is the negative number with the same value, and vice versa. The opposite of a negative number is the positive number with the same value. And the value that we're talking about, of course, is the absolute value, which is the distance from 0. So absolute value, opposite, integers, and then probably a couple questions just about what we're going to be what I talked about in this video. So be ready for your daily quiz, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Thanks all for watching.